I don't think Immortals is going to make the same mistake they did last playoffs.
No one was saying that TSM would win this, let alone in a clean sweep over Immortals, who were 17-1.
What a shocking result.
We've learned our mistakes from last time.
This time, I really want to win semifinals.
Immortals, when they win, usually get advantages everywhere. When they start to get a disadvantage, they can get blown open pretty easily.
We have never lost against Cloud9, basically, in the regular season.
Immortals 2-0 versus Cloud9.
We have improved a lot, so I do think we have a pretty good shot at beating them.
That's 20 for Jensen.
This match is going to be what takes us to Worlds.
This time, we have to win.
Welcome to the North American League Championship Series semifinal live from Los Angeles, California. Now the stage is set for our first team to step up to the finals and reach for the North American crown. As you can see, the audience has plenty of energy and they're ready for the games, as are Cloud9, Sneaky, and Jensen, who arrived to the arena earlier today. They're looking to return to postseason glory today against Immortals. Pobelter, the man in the mid lane for Immortals, going to be going up against Jensen. We'll see how he does. There's going to be quite a spotlight on that mid lane matchup. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, I'm James Dash Patterson alongside our analysts Mark Zimmerman and Alberto Krumsrangifo. Gentlemen, semifinal time. We've got our top 4 teams in NA, all poised for some great best of fives. Are you ready for the same?
Yeah, I'm going to be really looking forward to that mid lane matchup. I know we're going to highlight it a ton throughout the day. I'm sure there's a second stream, all that already dedicated to it. So
I'm looking for 15 games. We had the finals in LCK, semifinals in EU, top it off with 5 games here. That'd make my day.
Yeah, for those of you who hadn't seen, there were 5 games over in Europe. We're hoping for the same here in North America. First off, though, let's load up that playoff bracket. C9, CLG, they advanced to the semis with victories over Envy and Team Liquid. Of course, now turning our attention to what's at stake, though, in this larger scheme of the season. Remember that the North American Finals champion auto-qualifies for Worlds and is awarded the first seed. Now, the second seed NA team will be the team who has accumulated the highest number of championship points between spring and summer of 2016. Now, the third seed comes from the regional qualifier. The 4 playoff teams that are not the first and second seed will compete in a gauntlet for that third slot, which brings us to today's semifinal showdown, which is between Cloud9 and Immortals, the first of 2. Now, I want to look at these 2 teams. Let's start off with Immortals and talk about the keys to success for this team against specifically Cloud9.
Well, Immortals plays aggressive and they look for their fights constantly. Their damage per gold spent is higher in every position compared to Cloud9, so they're a really aggro team. That's why we know and love them for, and they make games bloody. They make you kind of deviate from the plan and focus on whatever they're doing, and if you fall into their trap, you're going to lose.
Now, if you have to point out a lane, though, that's got to step it up for Immortals, which one is the one that's got to make that next level push to get them to the finals?
I think it has to be their bot lane. I think they're by far the least consistent in a sense where, you know, Huni definitely dies a lot, but he'll make plays happen. Pobelter's a rock in mid lane, Rainover's all over the map, and the bot lane is the one that you have to worry about, especially given that Sneaky is such a huge carry for C9.
Very much so. All right, well, then on the other side of things, it's understandable, of course, to look at Immortals and call them a clear favorite, but Cloud9, they've been showing some fire lately, so let's assess them as a team and their late season surge almost.
Well, what was interesting was the fact that they seemed to be struggling a little bit in the middle. They had that loss to Team Liquid where people were starting to wonder about them, and then they finished out the season extremely strong and had a great series versus Envy where they lost the first game but seemed to really have control over how they knew what was going to be the important picks and sticking with them. And they've just been seeming to be on the up and up constantly, and I don't think they're going to suddenly slump here.
And speaking of important picks, sticking with Smoothie, making sure that they have one guy that's stable on the roster, I think solidifies how they play as a team. It's a lot easier on your teammates when you know exactly who you're playing. It's easier to get along with just one person, kind of pick their brain and understand them, as opposed to trying to mesh with the 2 people every single game.
Yeah, that decision coming in midway through the split for them, as we just saw. Sneaky himself has some pretty sweet statistics when laning with Smoothie, so bodes well for them, particularly as we've moved away from prevalent lane swapping and we get a little bit more of those 2v2s. Now, the big carry for C9 in this split, though, has been Jensen, so it's no surprise that our featured matchup is between Jensen and Pobelter in the mid lane. Let's talk specifically about these 2 guys.
I think the biggest thing that we were talking about a little before was that Pobelter actually is the most efficient mid laner basically in the league, where he has the most damage per gold spent, meaning that he is going to put out the most damage almost regardless of gold income in a sense. So that's an extremely impressive stat, because ultimately the most important thing is damage.
Not only is he the highest in the league, but when we put a microscope on just the mid laners, Pobelter sits in that #1 slot for mid laners in terms of damage dealt for gold spent, whereas Jensen actually sits in 9th. So in terms of how he's maybe, in a sense, using his gold, not as efficient, but it also just speaks to the amount of gold that Jensen is getting.
Which is huge because in the matchup against Envy, Jensen was getting such massive leads in the mid lane just by himself, and being able to translate those, even that means that if he's against Pobelter, even if he gets those leads, unlike the Envy matchup where Ninja didn't find enough room to have an impact, I think that Pobelter, regardless of how he lanes into Jensen, which I don't think will be falling too far behind, maybe even getting ahead and getting solo kills, hopefully, or maybe lots of roams, I think that he'll be able to have a much bigger impact on the game and still be a force to be reckoned with.
Right, I think it's just kind of two different styles where obviously Immortals tries to put a lot more resources into the top half of the map, and what's nice is that obviously Pobelter is still performing without getting that kind of focus, whereas C9 clearly puts a little bit more emphasis around getting Jensen ahead, and he's often targeted by enemies more as well.
Yeah, the play styles between these two teams and the way that they approach the game, either who they choose to carry or they move around the map, makes for a very exciting matchup between these two teams specifically. Now, we're spending summer playoffs revisiting a split full of huge plays and memorable moments, and we want to invite you to contribute your favorite memory to the conversation on Twitter. So hit us up at LOLesports using the hashtag LOCKIN, and keep an eye out for your submissions throughout the playoffs. And if you haven't booked your trip to Toronto, you still have an opportunity to snag tickets. The third place match takes place on August 27th at the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. Be a part of the North American Summer Playoffs and see two of the best teams in the region battle it out live. Head on over to lolesports.com/tickets and secure your seat for the third place match on Saturday while you still can. Now today, NALCS 2 is online and bringing you an alternate stream experience focused on that mid lane matchup. So join Pastry Time guests Golden Glue and Alex Each as they break down high-level strategy and talk shop about Pobelter and Jensen in that mid lane. Former NA champion Meteos, though, is back at the top of the NALCS, but the road that he took to this point, my goodness, has been filled with personal challenges. Take a look.
I'd say for the beginning of my career, I was always doing really well, and it made it so it's really easy to be confident. I didn't exactly realize the things I was doing wrong back then. You know, like, it seemed right because, you know, I'm doing this thing where we're winning all of our games.
Well, Meteor's great. Bolt bringing their high as well. Real flash forward for the pulse, and that's going to be yet another kill. Meteor's everywhere today.
In the C9, there was always some issues within the team, even when we were winning. But we were just so much better than everyone else that the issues never really came to light. But when we start doing bad, and then there's a lot of disagreements on the team, and then Jensen came in, and me and him didn't really see eye to eye either.
Meteos is a guy who really wants to win, so if things aren't going very well, he'll often get frustrated, and I think he just realized we weren't getting anywhere.
It felt like I was kind of thrown into a position where I was supposed to lead the team, but we didn't really work well as a team.
Someone suggested that we just try a game with like high, and then Meteos was watching it on that, and he saw how the team was playing with high, and he realized that stepping down would be the best thing for the team.
I kind of just wanted to take a step back and be like, I want to see someone else try jungling for this team and see if it's possible, or see if it's something I need to work on.
He took one for the team, stepping down, letting us go forth with high.
I'd say when I left the roster, I wasn't really feeling great. It took a big toll on my confidence. When I was taking a break, it gave me an opportunity to stream a lot. I got to connect with fans when I wasn't able to before. And then I just sort of tried to focus on my play as well as just myself as a person, you know, try to be a more agreeable person, try to treat people around me better. I think after playoffs of Spring Split, someone from C9 came to me and they're like, hey, do you want to try playing some scrims with the team? Came in, tried playing some games, and it went pretty well. And then we just decided to have me play.
Meteos going to be back in the jungle for Cloud9 today, our first NALCS MVP.
I think that Reaper had a big part in helping me and Jensen get along better. We had a lot of time where we were playing with other people, obviously, so some of the issues that we were just really disagreeing on, just got to see other perspectives of things. Me and him both weren't the best teammates, I guess. I remember there's this quote Reaper said to us that kind of resonated with me. It was, everyone's right in their own mind. You know, like no one's gonna knowingly do the wrong thing. Say like someone gets ganked, and then I'm gonna be like, why are you feeding their jungler? And then they'll be like, well, I wasn't trying to, you know, it just happened. Did I need to go up there and help him? Should he have warded? Even if two people don't agree, there's other perspectives, like other ways you can look at the problem to get on the same page.
I could also just go on mid right here.
Okay.
I can walk up towards mid.
He's done.
Nice catch.
Now I've definitely seen that the way I've thought about the game, the way I've played does have flaws, and it's stuff that I've been working to improve on. I'm not the best player, not the best jungler, so I can learn from those who are better than me. I think that if I just put a lot of effort into it, I can keep getting better.
Welcome everyone to the battle arena. It is time for the semifinals. I am David Freak Turley, and I'm joined here by two wonderful gentlemen, Aiden Zyrene Moon and Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley. You guys excited for a wonderful best of 5 here?
Absolutely. I'm incredibly excited for this one. I've been waiting all week for the semifinals to start, and finally they're here.
Yeah, me as well. I think especially with how C9 played last weekend, I'm hoping for a close series.
I'm hoping for a close one as well. Let's go for the 15 games as Crumbs wanted for. We are ready for Champion Select. So let's review the starting rosters for these two teams. Up first on the blue side is Immortals. Their top laner, Huni, jungler, all team, Rainover, Pobelter in the mid lane, Wild Turtle 80 carry, Adrian on support, and Coach Dylan behind them.
And their opponent today is Cloud9. In the top lane, it's Impact. In the jungle is Meteos. Mid lane, Jensen, and the bot lane duo will be Sneaky and Smoothie with Coach Reaper here.
And Reaper is one of the new guys on the roster here, actually, making his mark. I saw him, with Edward Gaming last year at Worlds, came over now to Cloud9, and I think C9 has, no pun intended, sneakily been one of the better teams in North America. They've been under the radar for, weirdly, because it was like, okay, they were kind of mediocre, like they barely made Worlds, this kind of roster comes together, and they've actually been a really solid team with this new look.
Yeah, I think they kind of got bogged down in a couple of things of perception at the beginning of the split. Which supporter they're going to use? It's Cloud9 without High. How is their shot calling? But Reaper has actually made a great kind of team out of this team and made them third place so far. And I actually attribute a lot to him, as well as Jensen and Meteos have both been very outspoken of how much he's helped them.
Yeah, exactly. The players are complimenting this guy left and right. But as we do get into the picks and bans, Echo and Tom Kench taken quickly off the board here. And TK has been kind of that C9 special. They've been using it a lot in scrims. It was highly prioritized last week, and so it's taken away here.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised at that, because there are some other things on the table that you would expect to have banned away, like the Shen against Impact.
Right, unless you've got a counter pick ready for it.
Yeah, such as Rumble, right? One of the things that Huni really likes to play, and it's one of the most banned champions against Immortals on that Rumble. Huni likes to play aggressive stuff. He's not going to be afraid of any of these 1v1 matchups.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is Cloud9 have one ban left. Soraka has been Adrian's go-to champion. Rumble and Soraka are the two most banned champions against Immortals, and now it looks like at least one of them is going to be left up here, and we'll see what ends up happening.
A lot of respect being given to Adrian so far. Both Tom Kench and Bard banned away here, for Smoothie. And it definitely speaks to just how well this guy has been doing in the bot lane. He's been getting a lot of credit across the league from different pros, and it's something that throughout the course of the season, they've been improving more and more and more together as a bot lane.
And I think that one of Cloud9's biggest strengths is when they're playing pick compositions. They have very low combined kills per minute in their games, and that's because they like to pick people off, and Smoothie's Bard is a big part of that. Thresh is his backup champion for those types of plays.
Interesting to see Gragas actually taken off the table here by C9. I always kind of pegged Rainover as more of that Rek'Sai first pick guy.
Yeah.
And, it's something where I would have thought they would be happy to let that go through the draft, but it could be something that's a nod towards scrims. And Talia coming through is a bit of a surprise, as this is one of the most banned champions, period, lately.
Right, Vladimir, the only really mid laner, even more contested than this Talia here off the table right away. Immortals understands the pinch, and you're right about the Gragas ban being a little unusual against Rainover, but with Talia on the table, kind of trading that for what we assume to be a Rek'Sai, and then maybe a Sivir underneath.
Exactly. I think that we expect the Rek'Sai to come out here for Meteos because they're pinching that jungle pool.
Would be interested to see how highly prioritized Cassiopeia will be today also, because that has been a big one for Jensen, and it's something that Pobelter doesn't really play.
Yeah.
The kind of overlap in their champion pool has been more about the Victor.
Yeah, exactly. Pobelter, most played Victor. Jensen, most played Victor as well, but Pobelter, heavily his champion that he's gone to.
Gangplank as well can be a flex pick. It's much more commonly in the top lane. And if it is going to be top lane, Gnar matches up pretty well with that. We actually just saw that in the EU finals, or semifinals rather, that just happened. It can be a pretty scary matchup. Wow.
Yeah,
Rundle
honestly,
locked in very quickly here.
this champ select definitely not going the way we expected coming in. What you expect out of these teams, the way that these guys play the game. You expect something more agile for Huni, and you certainly don't expect really tanks for Adrian. He's played roughly one melee support the entire split. Either way, it's an unusual Trundle pick for Immortal.
Exactly. So that means that you're either going with the Trundle support, so it's the Trundle Jhin bottom lane for the roots and getting some pick and having some disengage potential. But also, if this were a top lane, I really don't like it in the top lane against Gangplank. He's not really up against somebody he's going to shred.
Right.
It's kind of a weaker champion in that matchup, and you just allow Gangplank to kind of scale.
Well, but we have had 2 weeks off of not seeing Immortals play at all. They didn't play in promo tournament. They didn't play in quarterfinals. So actually make that 3 weeks off, and they can kind of come up with it with whatever they want. Cloud9 showing their own lineup. It's a Braum, no surprise for Smoothie, with a Sivir actually coming through for Sneaky.
And Huni has been a guy classically who has his own way of thinking about the game. Whether it's kind of the Lucian top, which obviously didn't work out, but he's a lot of stuff that he comes in with, playing a full AP Echo when people aren't playing that. He has different ways to play the game, and it's going to be the Rumble.
Exactly. Rumble was the most banned champion against Immortals during the regular split, with 40% of their games having it banned against them. Overwhelming amount of bans towards Huni.
I will say, this is a very AP-heavy lineup, though, for Immortals, and if you fall behind versus these tankier compositions, people with the front line of Braum and Rek'Sai, Turtle is going to have trouble punching through those on Jhin.
I do feel, though, that it's not going to get that tanky that quickly, and the Jhin will build the armor penetration, so you have to build at least some armor, or you risk him being able to do true damage to some of your squishy members like Gangplank.
Certainly, the first 20 minutes here for Immortals is going to be a lot of damage that cannot be easily withstood here, so certainly a test for C9 to withstand the early to mid game.
Oh,
and a LeBlanc is the final lock-in as well for Cloud9, so the lineup is here, and it is highly agile and highly damaging.
The last time Jensen played LeBlanc, he got 20 kills.
Set a record.
It was the NA LCS record, and this is something where he can look to pick on Talia here. Jensen has been the most dominant laner in the NA LCS. Both these guys have been focused on by junglers extremely heavily, and I think this game is going to be no changes there at all, because if LeBlanc gets too far ahead, we know how much of a monster Jensen can be on it.
Exactly. You were talking about how they pulled the enemy jungle attention. These are mid laner number 1 and 2 in terms of how much they get camped by the enemy jungler. They pull so much attention, and that's the thing. If Belter actually gets away with it, Talia has this roam potential, and that's what Jensen's going to try to keep up with, which is most likely a teleport.
Immortals has very traditionally been that solo lane focused for jungle, going top lane, going mid lane, and Meteos had, during the regular season, been more of a farm-heavy jungler, but in the playoffs last week, he really changed it up. He was ganking extremely heavily, focusing a lot more on all lanes than he did in the regular season.
And especially on mid.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody is talking about how 615 has really shifted a little bit of where your jungle pays attention. More ganks early, able to get them off, and people are just playing to their solo laners now, and Immortals said they'd love this patch, but definitely champion select for them is under a magnifying glass right now because of what happened last semifinals.
Last semifinal, I got 3-0'd by a TSM, including a Lucian top game. So we are ready to go into game 1 of our semifinal match. Fire up the Twitter sphere and vote for your favorite team. Hashtag IMTWin, hashtag C9. You've got blue and green lights in the crowd. The teams are ready to go. The players are ready to watch it. And here we go, game 1 of the semifinals.
Cloth 5, or well, Cloth 4 now. Start for Huni here in the top lane. Very defensive and giving some respect over to Impact in that 1v1. Immortals is moving out here as a squad, and we have C9 just setting up that line of scrimmage.
I definitely want to see what these teams look like. Again, Immortals, haven't seen them pretty much all month here. 615 changing the way you play League of Legends a little bit, and here we go.
And Immortals, most of them on this bottom side of the map here, they may be going for some type of invade in the near future. They see 2 on the bot side, and that's going to tell them to come on down here. If they can get a catch.
No CC for Huni. Adrian actually is okay to learn Pillar, but goes Chomp to kill off the ward, so bonus XP and gold to the squad, and they're just going to ward to see what the jungle start looks like. C9 unable to kill the Trinket themselves, so a vision deficit for the red side, but they're able to reveal a late Gromp take if it does happen.
I've really liked some of the clever adaptations teams are throwing in on these level 1s. A lot of teams are planning out their level 1s, looking to get little advantages like this. Even if it's just vision and a ward kill, it can make the other team a little bit nervous. Kind of gives you a bit of doubt of where they are, what are they doing, are they trying to do something cheesy?
Yeah, and right here, Immortals know what happened. Because they gave up their top side of the jungle, it's probably warded here, so Rainover and Huni don't actually walk up to the camp just yet to give away the information.
Right, they're essentially metagaming the likely ward position spot, sighting outside of it, coming in only at the last possible second, and okay, yes, they get revealed, but they gave as little information away as possible without actually slowing up their jungle clear. So standard stuff here, top laner leashing for the respective junglers on both sides. Krugs and Gromp start for Reignover and Meteos. Meanwhile, both duo lanes take their own respective jungle camps, walk in a lane, and assuming all went well, they won't miss any experience.
And it's two duo lanes that are actually quite good at taking those jungle camps. Both Rom and Trundle very strong at supporting with that. And both are actually looking to take a little bit of...
I like that.
There,
Level 2 at the start of the wave.
Yeah.
Ooh, good damage into Sneaky. Great spell shield gets out of the Deadly Flourish, but still a nice trade all said and done. Attacks back and forth. Adrian one hit from his stun, won't come through. And honestly, the blind pick Trundle does not get punished really at all. I kind of like the research that Immortals did, knowing that Smoothie plays Karma, Bard, and tanks. And so you put Trundle in, you know it's going to be a melee laner at that point, and that's what happened.
Yeah, you get to take Grasp in those matchups, too. That's a big thing in these melee matchups, is whoever takes Grasp actually has a decent advantage over the other one.
You just fight better.
It's a little deceptive, too, because you don't always expect a support to have that burst.
Right.
And it's a decent amount of healing, too.
Yeah, auto-attack Chomp with a Grasp on top of it, definitely going to be painful. Smoothie takes up the Deadly Flourish. Still battling back and forth in this bot lane.
And I want to talk about these two team styles, because Immortals are, in all of the playoffs around the world globally, they are the bloodiest team in combined kills per minute. They brawl the most out of any team, win or lose in those brawls. Cloud9, on the other hand, though, are 9th in the league in terms of their combined kills per minute. And because they like to brawl so often on Immortal's side, Wild Turtle has even taken Insight. So he has reduced Summoner Spell cooldown over Biscuits and things like that. So he's actually going for more brawling style with his Jhin too, and just being able to reposition, not get caught.
That is interesting, you're right. Yeah, not the standard 5-minute flash cooldown. We don't typically see 18-0-12 as mastery choices, but that is what Wild Turtle's got. And yeah, he's going to be hoping to be part of these fights more often. We'll see how that plays out for them. But as you mentioned, yeah, a difference in styles, fast versus slow. And Reignover now looking for some counter jungling, getting to the top side, wanting to turn around this top lane matchup.
And Huni's already shoved this up because they think Meteos is on this side, and if he decides to brawl...
A lot of damage dealt in. The Chomp comes through under 200 HP as Meteos running now. Red buff on. Nice knockup. Get away from Reignover. One more attack and he will get away. Properly played. Safety.
Really calm play there by Meteos to not blow his flash. He knew that all of Reignover's spells were on cooldown, and he would be okay to walk out of there. But Impact has to be a bit careful now, knowing the attention is going to be topside.
Yeah, you can see he actually backs up all the way as Gangplank.
Procs, good trade.
Yeah, ooh, Smoothie gets crit on, but they knew how much damage was still available. Powelter went up to the top side for a ward. He's got Elise nearby him as well. Of course, LeBlanc is hard to gank. And it looks like there won't be too much happening in the mid lane right now, impacting his first teleport to get back to lane. He's got Sheen for himself, so that's roughly the first item buy that Gangplanks tend to go for.
I also liked how aggressively forward Pobelter was playing that, kind of trying to bait out the W from Jensen, and had he jumped forward, he is then very gankable, and Pobelter in some trouble here.
Not a good thing for Powelter, but Jensen, of course, had teleport, not ignite, so Pobe knew he did not need to heal or flash away. There was no damage left on the LeBlanc. Properly played here. Impact in a battle with Huni. That Huni is winning heavily. Look at the damage of it. 200 HP left. Impact's one hit away from dead, but he knew that Huni was overheated. No spells were coming out, and it will not be a dive. And keep in mind, also, Elise was seen walking to the bot side of mid a while ago. Nice triple barrel chain. Impact playing it nicely. Certainly good at this champion.
Yeah, and Impact is mostly put onto tanks. He actually gets the least amount of help from all top laners from his jungler. He's usually left out to dry on Cloud9, but on a carry, I want to see if Meteos starts playing towards his lane, and if they try to help Impact out more.
Impact has, though, been able to kind of open up that champion pool a little bit more. He's been putting in some carry performances, particularly on Aurelia over the last couple weeks, picked up some player of the games, and has really been outstanding for the team in the later half of the season.
Yeah, he's definitely proved that he can snowball. In their quarterfinal matchups, he was basically just styling on Seraph all game long with Gnar.
It was also interesting to hear in a lot of the Cloud9 interviews, these guys actually thought the key to winning was top lane. They think that Huni is the weakness on Immortals, and it was not the bot lane that most people had been considering their advantage.
Right. It's interesting as well because the counter pick went to Huni as well. You saw the early first pick on a Gangplank red side. Partially it's a denial, partially it opens you up to some counter matchups. There are a lot of Gangplank counters. I was part of the top lane stream with Dyrus and Zig last week, and they were talking off camera about like literally like a dozen different champions you can pick that are good into Gangplank. Things like Quinn, things like Kennen, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Rumble, one of the good ones as well. We saw it over in Korea a few hours ago, and it went nicely. And that's the matchup that Huni has for himself, one that should be won by the Immortals top lane, or one that you might expect Reignover to kind of push through the rest of the way.
Yep, so far so good for Huni in that top lane. Has level 6, he's up on farm. And he's going to be looking good, and that level 6 power spike is extremely strong for Rumble, and Impact is going to have to play it quite safe because we saw just how much damage he's actually taking in some of these trades already.
Close timing right there. Huni doesn't land the auto attack at the right time, but Impact lands the parlay.
It looks like Reignover and Pobelter both have advantage on top side, but that gives bottom away.
There's the coordination. Adrian stun flashes over to the river and exhausts the Sivir. Here's the flash knock up onto Wild Turtle, who is out of summoner spells, but there's no rub up from Meteos. Not a chainsaw yet, but there's the collapse. There's the first blood, and Cloud9 get the first kill of the semifinals.
Maybe they said the weakness was top from Cloud9 side, but hey, go bottom. Apparently they set sneaky up here.
And it's Meteos now picking up that first blood. I'll be interested to see if he goes for the team mat. And they're actually pushing for the turret here. Heavy hands buff even on Meteos. They're looking to push this down. Immortals must make something happen on the top side.
And Impact, very smart of him. If he gets out of this,
beautiful equalizer lands the slow. Red Smite is on, saving Cocoon. Impact flashes.
Oh, backwards!
Oh no, he sent it the wrong way. Impact probably would have lived anyway. He had the oranges available regardless, and there's the first brick over to C9. Big gold lead.
Could the pressure be getting to Reignover there a little bit? Very uncharacteristic mistake from him.
Yeah, backwards Cocoon there, and it doesn't hit Impact. They don't force him to use the W, and now he gets to stay in the top lane. And you think about how Cloud9's games have been going recently. They can pressure mid, they can pressure bottom, and Impact is a sponge for the enemy team's pressure. He basically just dissolves everything you put at him.
He's been very good at dissolving that pressure. Of course, that top lane, though, the turret about to do the same thing. It's running out of health rapidly.
Yeah, they're bringing Braum, too. So Smoothie
if they can get him in time.
Yeah, we'll be close here. I think Impact's going to have to just back off and give it up. The rotation too slow. Smoothie sees that. He will back off here, too. But still, heavy advantages on the bot side of the map as with those kills, it's going to put Sneaky quite a bit ahead.
Extra kill and the 400 bonus blood for the turret going down first is C9's credit for being first on the play, and that's one of the things that definitely happened in 6-15 is being first just means more. Turrets can't run away. You can dodge first blood for a while. You can make sure you don't get ganked. You can ward, but if you make the offensive play and knock something down, the map is sort of irreversibly in your favor now in this case. Nice by C9 to have that play come in first.
It certainly is, but you still do have to keep Impact relevant. He's not on a Shen. He's not on a Maokai or a Trundle that's just going to have this high baseline of effectiveness. You need the farm on Gangplank to actually have an impact in these team fights, and they may come right back at Impact as top lane is pushing away from him, and he is going to be in a pretty dangerous spot.
Exactly. No flash here. Huni has the ultimate. If it's a good equalizer here, Huni could pick up a kill, but we'll see.
Okay, barrel is down, but Impact running out of health rapidly. Huni last hits the barrel. Ulti across, a bit of damage back and forth. Talia roaming up to make sure it's all good, and there's the kill picked off. Yeah, he's gonna survive the encounter. Huni gets out, staying alive. First assist on the board for him. And Immortals get a kill.
Yeah, but Cloud9 with Pobelter moving up to the top side of the map, they get to collapse on mid, push the wave in, deny that farm, but Huni definitely needed Pobelter's help there. He almost got taken out himself.
Yeah, it was a deceptively close fight. He was almost had the last Q, which would have actually gotten the counter kill there. Yes, he would have gone down, but still, Impact holding on tight here, trying to do his very best, even while just being kind of ignored by his team. And Huni's getting a lot of help. They're making a big bet that Huni's going to be able to carry here.
LC9 betting on the bot lane right now. They're fighting over the red buff, and here comes the Jhin ulti, and you've got Pobelter and Huni showing up for this one. They've got to jump across the wall. Most of them could just jump. There's the ulti in from Smoothie, looking for the damage back on a Pobelter. Very low health to Leah, and he bit off more than he can chew. The Rock Mage goes down. TP not even completed by Impact. A backfiring 4v5. Immortals down.
That's huge for C9, and especially for Impact. He's going to get alone time up in that top lane. He's going to have the faster TP cooldown, and he will be able to, hopefully for him, catch up in some of this farm.
Seems likely, and even though the red buff does go over to Immortals, and Reignover gets it for himself, the defense on that front was good enough. This fight went C9's way.
Yeah, these are incredibly ambitious fights, too. Pobelter's sitting on 2,000 gold. They're trying to actually just defend this, and they don't have the combat stats to do so just yet either. They all get out over the wall. Killer's not going to help them. And then the TP comes through for Huni, so they try to make something of it, but they end up just giving up Pobelter.
This was just a huge overcommitment. Yes, the Jhin ulti was nice, but Turtle was not in a position at all to help them. Reignover was going back to the red buff, while Pobelter and Huni are overcommitting in that fight. So definitely some miscommunication, some mishaps happening here for Immortals early on, but the game is still exceptionally close. Only 1,000 gold, the difference.
Yeah, exactly. When Cloud9 get over that Dragon Pit wall, that point you just have to cut your losses and say, okay, let's stop chasing it. But some cost fallacy comes into play. Got to get something out of it.
I think they thought they could get it, though. The problem is most of C9 could jump the wall without burning flash. Only Sneaky had to burn a summoner spell to get away, and then it turns out you lined up for a perfect Braum ultimate, and it's one of the things that I'm sort of glad Smoothie did is he emphasized getting experience so that he was level 6 for this play. If he had been roaming more often than not and was level 5, that kill doesn't come through, and prioritizing getting a little bit of XP came into effect there, the fight late enough that he had the ultimate. Only 800 gold separates these teams, though. For all that C9 have done well for themselves, this game is still very, very close. C9 playing around the Drake, looking for maybe a bit of a play. Slow onto Rainover. Auto attack's going to land. 2 more, and Rainover gets stunned away. Can't quite get it. Out he goes.
But they're still forcing him out of his jungle. They can test the red buff. They can test every little thing they can from Rainover. The Gragas ban, the Rek'Sai pinch, forces him onto, honestly, a lower than S tier jungler here.
And remember, there's no TP on Huni, but he is making the roam down. They want to try to contest this dragon, or at least be in position to do so.
Not going to happen just
yet.
Gen
ulti opens up.
Side number 2.
Media's going to run out of health. Smoothie tanks 1, puts the shield up for the other, gets cocooned up. They wait for it to break off, and he's going to get blasted! There's the kill for Wild Turtle. Nicely played by Immortals, getting a kill for the backside of that Drake kill.
Still worth it for Cloud9. They take the dragon. They will gladly give up their support's life in that trade, and the question is now, can Immortals get something else off of it?
Yeah, they get to siege mid because the top lane is shoved in. Impact has to pick that up, and he's really their wave player that's left alongside Sneaky.
Impact does have his ultimate if he needs to help out from that top lane, but they're pushing bot side here as well.
Here's the wave. All 7 minions are there. Gangplank ultimate not used. I'm surprised they didn't, though, because this turret's going to be going down because of that. Equalizer zones him off. A late GP ulti, but it's actually
going
enough to bait the team in. And, of course, keep in mind, Rumble holds down the flash knockup. Braum's in. They're going to catch one. Pelbelter's dropped again. 2 deaths already for him. And C9, actually, it was all a ruse. Get themselves that kill.
And Immortals don't even get the bottom turret or the mid turret. Sneaky and Smoothie said they aren't going to get that bottom turret, and they came back to mid and actually just decided to make a play there. Meteos as well.
And GP pushing in the top lane. They're successful in defending on all sides, and the CS closing a little bit, but Huni's still with a significant advantage in that top side, thanks in part to a lot of help from his teammates. Interesting to see as well for Meteos. He loves these more defensive builds. He's one of the only people going full tank these days still.
Here we go, the replay coming across, and you can see the equalizer there, and yes, he's running out of health, but they delayed the Gangplank ult until Meteos was available, and the chain into the flash knockup.
Yeah, and you can see the bottom lane is backing right now when they could actually get damage onto this turret. They just want to back and get back onto the map, but they've missed some opportunities there, and they didn't capitalize on Cloud9 committing more people to the mid lane.
Well, the situation we're in now is one where Cloud9 could feel pretty good. The Cloud Drake able to help them make the rotations, and that's going to be a quick pink ward killed off by Jensen. Snipe lands from Wild Turtle, good for him and everything, but
look at the pinks across the board and all these inventories. These guys are prioritizing vision so heavily. And just look at this line of wards from Cloud9 all the way down the top side river. Now they're establishing vision control in the bottom side, and the amount of vision on the map is incredible. They're completely dominating the vision game right now.
Really incredible stuff. Certainly a solid team, and Cloud9, again, sort of an overlooked squad because of how good TSM and Immortals were during the regular season, losing, what, 3 matches total between the teams. And you've got C9, who came in as the 3rd seed, overlooked in some respects, but doing well in this first game.
Yeah, there was always the comment that Immortals and TSM are clearly the top 2 teams, and then everybody else in the NALCS was far and away below them. And that actually shows in the advantages and how quickly TSM and Immortals balloon their advantages. When you look at how far ahead they are at 10 minutes, and then it goes up from 1,000 to 3,000 gold in the span of 10 minutes, whereas Cloud9 take a 100 gold advantage at 10 minutes and make it 700. Yeah. So Immortals and TSM are much better at snowballing leads than Cloud9 has been in the past. Sure. And that's what's really separated the 2 teams here.
C9's a slower team. It's been kind of their style, right? Here's a game where C9's winning, and there's 5 kills in 16 minutes. This is more the C9 way of be controlled, play the objectives, play the turrets.
I think it does also speak to some of their compositional choices. Having Gangplank and Sivir, you're going to be pretty happy to scale into that late game, have that AoE team fight. Jensen pretty far up here. Ooh. All the teams coming.
Gonna take a lot to catch
across. Flashes gets away, but ooh, Juke's back into the cocoon. Rainover doing a lot of damage. Jensen out of Summoner spells.
Meteos.
A nice jump away, and here's the Gangplank.
They're holding off for Sivir.
Slowing down Rainover. Teleport coming in for Huni to join in the team, and suddenly C9 realizes they've bitten off a bit more than they want. And there's Powelter cutting off Smoothie, who does not have a lot of ways out of this one. Can't jump across just yet. Finally does Jensen. Looking for the root, can't quite get it. Everyone does escape with their lives. And it's once again Impact not having to teleport out.
Exactly, and that is huge for him. They keep drawing pressure on the other side of the map, so although they're not directly helping him by going to his lane, they draw pressure, Huni moves to roam, and Impact gets a little bit of free time to close the gap time and time again here.
It's an actually incredibly intelligent way to play the game because they aren't playing Immortals game. They're not saying, we're going to 2v2 you top over and over again and try to win that when we know that's your specialty. Instead, play to the bottom. Meteos hasn't changed his style. Gank for Sneaky, gank for Jensen, and then pull that attention away so Huni wants to come down, and that actually distracts him from dominating his lane.
Wonderful stuff, and you're seeing sort of this pay out. Once again, Huni counterpicking the top lane match. It's one we've seen do well before, this rumble into Gangplank, and despite getting ganked, despite losing his turret, Impact down 20 CS this late in the game. Not that huge of a deal. His farm's going to be fine.
But I also think that moving forward in this best of 5, Gangplank and Shen for Impact, because of the global pressure, they don't have to gank his lane, go elsewhere. Impact can still help where they're actually fighting.
I think that the next dragon here is going to be pretty key. Immortals did have vision on this bot side around the dragon pit, but C9 heavily contesting it once again. Next one is an Infernal, which both teams are really going to want to try to contest in and just not easily give up.
Yeah, I do think, though, at this point in time, Immortals have a slightly better team fight if Huni can actually land his Equalizer in a really good spot. So they have to make it to that Drake first and set up.
The amount of burst you can put out with a level 2 Rumble ult plus the Proto Belt, if you can flash on top of an 80 carry, you can instantly kill them.
Ooh, speaking of flashing on top of somebody, Rainover flashing away because you had Jensen just on top of him there. Meteos and the rest of C9 able to constantly play inside Rainover's jungle, take control of that area of the map. Infernal Drake spawning in 6 seconds, and C9 want this as well.
The fact that the jungle has no flash could be big for that, but Meteos gets caught.
On a CC on immediate piece. Okay, Rainover's actually the one who has been killed. Looks like the trap was set for the spider. Pavelter roaming in for this one. Snipes coming across. Smoothie, one more shot to go. Oh, he could burn down. He might burn down. It's going to be close, and no, he lives. He does not after all. Wild Turtle takes him out. He did what Score could not, and his prey actually burns down. And now Sneaky running away. The 1-for-1.
Impact does have TP, but he's staying topside. Huni is pushing down the mid lane turret. They will get this, and C9 is looking for a trade on the top side. Will Immortals make the move towards Dragon?
And they might want to, but keep in mind, Impact never even used his teleport in the prior engagement. That spell is up and available if he needs to join it.
Does have no GP ulti though, and Rumble ulti is available. That is very big for Immortals. C9 will have to play it carefully as Immortals is starting up the Dragon.
Well, Rainover's still running over. He doesn't have Smite available to him, but they can zone out Meteos, and they're going to, and it's going to be pretty all right for them, and good zoning. Immortals plays it right. The teleport not burned. Impact saves the summoner. Says, I'll trade a turret for that instead, and I think that's a fair choice. But a good compensation by Immortals.
Especially if they can delay backs here at all, he can get a little bit of alone time on the tier 2, or potentially try to steal away the blue. There are some more options here, and C9 is moving in on all sides, pushing up mid lane, trying to keep that pressure rolling. Impact working on the tier 2 now. But Pobelter's looking to roam.
The damage out, but this is actually it's an insane amount of damage.
So
yeah, you got Kalia, and you can't orange over a wall, so Impact's
flash.
in a pretty bad spot. But can he even survive if he flashes? Rainover is here as well. This is going to be a certain death for the Cloud9 top laner. Yeah, he's buying time, goes down, Rainover's top lane, the rest of the team pushing bot lane.
Exactly, going for that red buff, making sure that they can get some vision around it, get some control, and that's the trade that they really make there because Wild Turtle and Adrian played safe.
Definitely not respecting the Talia ultimate enough, but I think making the right choice to not blow summoners once he was in that bad situation.
And that's certain to die. Seismic shove, as long as it stays up, he can get through the teleport.
Yep.
Honestly, a big strength of Impact is how much he soaks pressure, and then he doesn't crumble under it. We don't see useless summoner spell usage from him. We don't see him actually give up easy kills. He tries to drag it out as long as possible.
A double Ruby Sightstone already for C9. This really does speak to how important they think vision is in this matchup. And I think in a game with LeBlanc, I really tend to agree. So much of it is about controlling vision, getting the jump on your opponents. And for Immortals, inversely, keeping sight of that LeBlanc so you don't get one shot.
You know what's great is 6:15, part of the goal with like Roots and lane swaps was to make the game look a little bit more like the game that we all play at home.
Yeah.
double Ruby Sightstone has been seen by no player ever on live. There is no jungler who buys a Ruby Sightstone in anyone's ranked game of all time.
Maybe a misclick.
Accident.
That was supposed to be Red Smite, my bad, guys.
Well, he got that too.
I know. Just, I mean, I know most of C9's colorblind, you know.
Yeah,
Maybe you know, worked out for him there. Meant to be something else. But either way, C9, yes, playing the Vision game, staying that 1,000 gold up, and playing a spread out map.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because Cloud9 are actually warding at a little bit of an unprecedented rate for them because Immortals are actually the #1 warding team in the league, and then Cloud9 is actually the #1 ward clearing team in the league. They clear the most percentage of enemy vision.
Look at bot side, though. They are kind of moving in here on impact. We have Jensen in the top side actually starting the split push, and C9 is starting to look to that 1-3-1. They have double TP, and they will have the global advantages heavily because of that.
Trying to pressure impact.
Well, juke one. Not going to juke that one. Barrels in, and that's going to be 3 of the 4 snipes. Impact low on health, but here comes the re-engage. Sivir ulti popped as well. The flash engage to Rainover does not dodge away with Repel, and now in towards Adrian Exhaust. Burned onto Jensen. Here comes the snipe, going to root up Meteos. A nice equalizer across several of the back line. The flash chase, Adrian Huni pick up 1 kill. Ooh, Cocoon lands on Meteos. That's going to be a dead Rek'Sai. Jensen's going to be next on the plate. It's a barbecue here. So many of Cloud9 getting slaughtered. A quick dodge away from Deadly Flourish, but 3 for 0. What a team fight for Immortals. Finally, a lead for the favorites.
Exactly, and Immortals show why they go for those team fights and why they pick this type of composition. They like those early brawls, and they immediately truck it across the map. Are they looking at a Baron?
They're certainly looking at it. They clear the mid lane away. They ping on the way towards Baron. Running through wards. This is a known choice, but they're going for it.
And Rek'Sai has his ultimate. He's going to be up in 5 seconds. This is very risky. They may look to turn and fight as Cloud9 are closing in. Can they get this? It would be huge for Immortals.
Many a game change on Baron. Oh, the middle barrel was gone. He can't, and that's going to be the smite picked up. Nicely done by Rainover. The battle ensues. Meteos low on health gets picked off, and Rainover getting the Baron and the enemy jungler to add insult to injury.
An absolute disaster for Cloud9 as they lose their jungler, they lose the Baron and the fight on bot side, and Immortals has blown this fight wide open.
A huge gamble there to go for the Baron afterwards, but this play set up. Jensen TPs onto the ward. They see him coming. Rainover gets his repel off, holds it, waits till Jensen goes forward, gets off it, and then the Talia wall sections them off, which allows everybody to go to the bottom side, and then the equalizer up is beautiful from Huni, and then the flash proto belt into 3 members of the back line. Huni playing that really well.
And once again, Immortals on the prowl here. They are looking for Jensen in the bot lane.
Okay, there we go. Jensen's down. He went down to the bottom side, got burned down. Wild Total picked him off. Yeah, the dive worked out very well. It made sure he couldn't go to the backward side. And with Baron buff on, everyone on the team actually, it's going to be bot lane outer turret going down. And Immortals now with a kill lead and their first turret lead of the game as Huni just clears mid.
Yeah, the game was even right before that fight happened. Then afterwards, with those 3 kills down, 1,000 gold lead for Immortals, do the Baron. Now we're looking at 4,000 gold up in the span of, honestly, 2 minutes.
It's crazy how they just seem to be able to flip a switch like that, but Huni pretty far forward here, has no flash.
He's going to be dying for this one. Can he trade back on a Smoothie? That answer is likely to be no, and they will slink away, but that is 4 people who are part of that fight. Even the Gangplank ulted for it to happen, and 1 kill turns into bot lane tier 2, still a better objective for Immortals. As now mid lane under fire, C9 trying to make the best of this rough situation here, and they will likely knock this down, bringing the game a little bit closer. Properly played by Smoothie, tanks as many shots as he needs to. Oh wow, backdoor bonus triggering on in time. That turret will not quite fall. The strong breeze will get it later, but right now C9 cannot huff and puff.
And they immediately start shoving down the mid lane. It's still only 4 members though. They don't have Huni, his TP is not up either.
Oh, Smoothie. He's dead. He's gone. There's Cocoon, there's everything. Rainover, another kill, 3, 1, and 4 for him. Plenty of ability power with the Riley's Crystal Scepter, and that's going to be another turret. And this is Immortals when they're winning. They play so much faster. Of course, the Baron buff helps, but this team is vicious at trying to take their advantages. Barrel Chain only does a bit of damage. Already up to the inhibitor 25 minutes in.
It doesn't even look like we're in the same game. I mean, this is something Cloud9 was dominating it. Just like that, the inhibitor likely going to go down. It's a 7,000 gold lead for Immortals.
Ooh, chunk on a Wild Turtle, loses Hex Drinker. Jensen actually loses a lot of health, but the Dust Blade cannot quite kill him off. Inverter's gone.
And this is what has really separated our top 2 teams from the rest of the league, is the risk they're willing to take. Going for that Baron, what other team would really do that in a matter of seconds? When the Rek'Sai has ult fit up, Meteos has a chance to steal it. They take the risk, so they say we're either going to win right now and just dominate the rest of the game, or we're going to lose slowly afterwards. And they decide, you know what, win right now. Let's go for it.
And even that was a small risk. We saw the look at potentially recalling for Immortals, but they said, no, wait, mid lane's under fire. Even though half of us are injured, we're going to make sure you get off that wave. There was a chance that C9 went for the fight there. It didn't happen, and another turret staying alive. Immortals fighting for everything on the map.
Yeah, they really don't let anything go uncontested. Any of their matchups. And I think the thing that's really stuck out for me in this game for Immortals is the fact that they lost a whole bunch of fights early on, a little bit of skirmishing here and there, and then immediately they're like, we just need that one. They really trust themselves to have that 4-on-4, that 5-on-5 team fight prowess where they're able to split fights up, and the Taliyah helps them do that so much. The Rumble helps them do it, and it honestly explains why that champion can ban so much against Huni.
That said, C9 definitely not out of this one just yet. 6,000 gold lead, a little bit over that right now. But they do have a lot of very powerful scaling. And as C9 starts to pick up more and more of these key items, as we see the Infinity Edge get picked up on Sneaky, and as we see some more items coming for Gangplank, they always have the potential to turn these fights around.
Exactly. Impact on this Gangplank. If he's able to...
Ooh, the sun's going to land. Gangplank to help out as well. Poelter passive going to turn off right now, but they've got the dive. They've got
Huni
the damage output. Here comes Huni. Watson nearly kills off Sneaky, but now he gets exhausted running away. Smoothie cannot land his passive onto him, so Huni can run away with impunity. The flash chase for Impact. The barrel going to get locked down by Huni. Here comes the re-engage on towards Zhonya's bot for time because top lane's getting pushed. Yes, they will finally kill off this Rumble, but how much of the top lane will be picked off? It's right now a 4v3 on the map. Immortals have to be able to disengage safely. There's a chain on a Rainover. 2 inhibitors going to be going down, but here comes the re-engage. Sneaky has health, and the ulti is up in about a minute's time.
C9 needs a taste here. They can't let them get away for this, and they are going to be able to have this TP come in. They're looking for the fight.
This could be catastrophic for Immortals. Does not hit the 3-barrel chain, so no damage dealt just yet. Now Rainover sectioned off. He's going to land the knockup. The red smite is there. He's going to flash to stay alive, and the couple of snipes actually really pick off Impact. Yeah, the cover fire doing quite a lot, and somehow nothing gets picked off in a 4v3 where C9 had the flank. Great escape by Immortals.
That was a scary situation because Immortals, think back to Spring Split. 10,000 gold lead with a Lucian top. They were chased down in top lane after going for an inhibitor against that Maokai, and then that was where the game rubber banded back against them. They were almost in that same situation against the LeBlanc.
Really was an incredible engage there, and C9 knew they needed to get more. They needed to take these guys off the map, start picking up some turrets, and really clean up some gold, because after that trade, they got 2 for 1, and they lost an inhibitor turret and an inhibitor. That is such a bad trade for them.
Well, a lot of the map not going Immortals' way. This team viciously aggressive. We're under 30 minutes in a game they were losing early on. First turret gold went over to C9. All of the good stuff went over to Cloud9 here. And this is Immortals. 2 inhibitors down in under 30, looking for their third.
Yeah, in the span from 22 minutes to 29 minutes, 7 minutes, they have gained a 7,000 gold advantage. Yeah, they have just ballooned their lead. Baron is on the table again in 35 seconds.
And they're looking to push down the 3rd inhibitor here. C9 needs to hold on. They cannot give up 3 inhibs against a team like Immortals.
We're looking for the play right there. Barrel hits 1 minion.
Meteos and Jensen are on the side, getting ready for that flank.
Wall's going to collapse right there. Not too much done. Turret low.
Yeah, it's a clever wall. Stops them from reinforcing the turret, allows Turtle to stand on the bottom right side and have no return fire. But Meteos has just been behind Immortals right now. He's trying to look for the proactive play here, but Sneaky has to clear the super minions that are coming into the Nexus, so he can't make a move. They're most likely going to have to give up this turret unless the timing of the waves actually works out and Sneaky can come here.
I feel like they can't afford to give it up. I think they're going to try to force a fight here. We'll see if it's going to work out as in they go.
Jensen rooted. Jensen going to go down to the equalizer. Huni picks him off 1 for 0, but they trade it back on the Taliyah. Mid laners had Sneaky cutting away, but Huni pops Zhonya's, and Smoothie's got to block these shots, but he will die to 1 more snipe. And be careful, Sneaky. Thankfully, Jukes to the right to stay alive for himself, but look at this. It's 4 versus 3, and the health bars are low. Guardian Angel popped. Rainover wants more. They're going to the base.
Exactly. This might be game 1 right here. Both Nexus turrets fall. They were already low for minions, and Immortals coming out swinging.
Beautifully played comeback by Immortals. The early game did not matter. They found the mid-game
They're low on
team
health,
fights
though.
they
Ricochet's
wanted.
coming in.
Running out of health. They've got to be careful on this one. They've actually lost Huni and Rainover. Now it's only Turtle and Adrian. The flash
reload!
chasing
He got
by Sneaky, but Sneaky stops, but he keeps the game alive. C9 have one more chance to maybe turn this game around.
Their inhibitors are actually back up. They have the mid lane and the bot lane inhibitor. They are still alive in this game. Obviously had a huge deficit with Baron on the map. Can C9 stay alive?
That was really interesting because what happened there is Wild Turtle, he flashed forward and he shot his last shot, not at Sneaky, but at the person who couldn't return damage to him. And let's watch this.
Yeah, watch this fight one more time. Sneaky being largely ignored as so much of the attention is put on Impact, on Meteos here, and Sneaky dueling on the side here against Rainover. Barely winning this fight was the game-saving play. Look at him, he has no help. And then Turtle,
He
flashing
flashes to
forward for the
Meteos.
tank.
He could have killed Sneaky there. That was the final crit shot. If he had killed Sneaky, Meteos has to go back into the base there and then come out, and that might have been enough time.
But still, C9 definitely not out of the woods just yet. Their third inhibitor will be coming up soon, but the Nexus is exposed. One lost fight will cost them game number 1. Baron on the map, Immortals will be looking to pressure.
Even just a rotation ends the game. If you get 3 seconds alone in C9's base, the game is over and Immortals wins it. So tight timing here. They're gonna play for the Ocean Drake. Baron is up, C9 getting out of their base to try to fight for something. And here we go, in towards this Ocean Drake. Gonna be picked up pretty cleanly. Immortals knows they have a lot of room to work with. The threat of a teleport that is up for Huni right now, the threat of an out rotation. You saw C9 run down to contest Baron, but it wasn't Baron that Immortals was going for.
We talked earlier about the power of Sivir in this late game. IE now picked up, 3 items complete, building defensively, working on the Hex Drinker, and if Sneaky can get to that Mach and get to the Bloodthirster, these kind of items, he can potentially survive and hard carry some of these fights. There's a lot of squishy members here for Ricochet.
Exactly, and Sneaky, he has been funneled a ton of this farm. He's almost 100 up, but he's 2 levels up over Wild Turtle at this point. He's been given so much, and like you said, there's nobody on Immortals that wants to build tank except for Adrian, and that's why you have to watch out for the Gangplank and the Sivir in the mid-late game, because they can decimate your entire team.
And you can see LeBlanc, what she can do against no magic just built up by Huni.
The tension in this game is palpable. You can see the top lane pushing in for Immortals. They are looking to make something happen. Huni has his TP, and he will come right back. Immortals wants to fight now.
Here comes the play for the bot lane inhibitor. The Nexus itself, of course, will be exposed afterwards. Smoothie to tank up the curtain call. Sneaky almost dead already. Ooh, okay, Smoothie gonna survive this one, but look at that burn onto the back line. Impact is already dead, and it's a 5v4. Smoothie just survives inside the fountain, but here comes the shot for the Nexus. 600 damage dealt for auto attack there. The dive back in. Smoothie gonna run down. Meteo's gonna be next up. It's a 5v2. Jensen gonna be attacked. Smoothie, okay, yeah, already dead. And Wild Turtle still stays alive. There's the ace. There's the shutdown. There's the game 1 victory in the semifinals. Immortals take game 1 over Cloud9.
There's far too much team fight power there by Immortals as they break down the door, get the ace, and take game number 1.
That breaking point was that 22-minute fight. Beautifully played there by the mid-game fighting composition of Immortals. They played to their strengths. They didn't fall completely into the game that Cloud9 was trying to play. And that was a team fight where Impact didn't even show up with his teleport. He threw down the ultimate, but he didn't show up for it. And that's what Cloud9 were trying to do, is get the most out of the plays where they fight on the bottom side and allow Impact to scale his gameplay. But Immortals was having none of it.
It's tough as well when you put Jensen on an assassin like LeBlanc, and he really was not able to get going. He was not able to have impact in these fights because Immortals had vision everywhere. They were so careful about the flanks, and you have to make stuff happen on an assassin like this. It is not just a sit back and team fight type champion like Cassiopeia, like Malzahar, Vladimir, these sorts of champions, and it's a risk by picking the assassin. Doesn't pay off here in game 1.
Yeah, and honestly, just well-played situations, honestly. Though C9 were faster for a lot of it. Yeah. Immortals, that one team fight, and once they had control, they said, we're going to group up, we're going to fight for everything. Baron. Objectives in their sights every time, and the 5-on-5s worked well for Immortals. So a 1-0 start. Great semifinal so far for Immortals. We'll see if they can do more, but for now, we're going to toss it down to Dash, Mark, and Crumbs for some analysis.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Very right. Immortals picking up the first victory here in our semifinal against Cloud9. That said, Cloud9 had a slight control of the early game, a couple thousand up at most at times, but Immortals with one really clean team fight striking back. Before we get into that and how they necessarily put that together, I want to talk about draft because it was mentioned by the casters. Last split, spring semifinals, Immortals come in, #1 seed, huge expectations for this team, and everything just, falls apart in the draft phase. How do you feel they did this time around, second go around in the playoffs with the draft?
It seemed to me to be a pretty smart draft. One of the things they did was they left both Shen and GP through, and I think it was kind of a mind game because we know Impact loves Shen, and we also know he kind of likes GP as well. And you would think like, oh, why are you giving him these good champions? But if he really takes the Shen, you can play GP into it. Huni also plays that, and then Rumble is also good into both of those. So if your plan was to play Rumble, then all along you're basically setting him up into good matchups all around. And he has good matchups into Gnar even. So all around, I think the Rumble pick's really strong, and it's good into Sivir. It's really hard for Sivir to auto a Rumble who's like this fake frontliner who does a ton of damage. So I think all around the Rumble pick was great.
And I personally like the Trundle pick because right now the best AP supports that you have are the Bard and the Karma, and both of them are out of the pool. So immediately taking the Trundle in the second rotation, even though it is obvious that it is a Trundle support, you're not going to put Huni on Trundle into Gangplank.
Right.
Trundle is basically guaranteed to be going into a matchup against Braum, Taric, Alistar, and all those are excellent matchups, and maybe even Thresh, who could give him some trouble. But regardless, it's an overall positive thing to have the Trundle. That way you solidify yourself as having a tank on your team, and you don't have to put Huni on playing the tank.
And of course, it was also mentioned by the casters, as we see Immortals on your screen right now talking about that Game 1 victory and plans for Game 2. The casters mentioned how important it is right now to be picking up mid laners that can affect the side lanes. And we see a TP picked up on LeBlanc on one side, and then of course Talia has her own ability to roam through her ultimate. And with that, we saw Immortals put a lot of focus into the top lane. On top of getting a good matchup for Huni in the Rumble versus GP, we saw Elise going top. We saw Talia going top, trying to help that lane out.
So I think a trend that's going on with these mid laners is that the actual mid lane matchup doesn't matter that much, because even if you fall behind, what really matters is how much you can help the mid lane. So we saw earlier in the EU, Senka's falling behind like 30-something CS in the mid lane. It still didn't matter. Being able to help the sides, helping the team fights is way more important. Right here, Jensen getting so far ahead on his own, but regardless, Pobelter still has pressure because he can push the wave against LeBlanc, finds opportunities to roam on the map, and we never saw Jensen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where it's like win early, lose late kind of thing, which seemed funny given that C9's comp was great for late game with Sivir GP.
Yeah, exactly. We were looking at Immortals saying, well, this is the early and mid game skirmishing with the Rumble and the Elise. Like, they want to fight early and often, and yet Cloud9 was the one that got the early lead.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where people love going after GP because he's such an easy target, but it just opens you up to the counterplay on the bot side. And I think that's one of the problems that GP poses, is that like you want to crap on him top to stop him from getting online, but the other team's just going to go bottom and use his ult. And it's kind of like this bait where you're just setting your bot lane up, and we saw that C9, with the help of the GP ult, was able to grab that first turret.
Well, personally, I don't like GP with LeBlanc because you don't have an opportunity to get kill pressure on there. On top of the fact that you want a lot of wave clear to stall for him to be able to take over the mid lane and possess a lot of wave clear. But with LeBlanc, you just find yourself in a mid-game rut that you just don't really know who do you send where and how do you get a fight going.
Let's take a look at a couple fights. Now, the majority of the early game fights were either trades 1-for-1 or 1-0s. The first replay we're going to take a look at is 18:40 into the game, 1-for-1 around Dragon. Both teams will also trade a turret, but Immortals will pick up the Infernal on the back end.
This is a great chance for Immortals to start getting back into the game. They have been a little bit behind. It starts out with a kill, but they have great tools for a long extended fight with the Jhin ult, with the Rumble ult. Talia also is relatively fine to play it slower. And so that last second burn from Jhin, Masteries was able to pick up a kill there. And then Huni has roamed down basically, so he's already mid lane getting that wave pushing the turret, if you saw it in the minimap.
Yeah.
So he gets that mid turret, they go back to Dragon, they pick up that as well. And then from there, that's kind of what pushed them back into the game when they had been initially behind a little bit.
So one thing I'd like to point out in the early game for Immortals is that they were unbelievably active.
Yes.
In the first 7 minutes, they invaded Meteos' jungle 5 times, 3 of them with at least 2 people. So they were on him the entire game. At level 2, Pobelter so invades Wraiths, and then
I loved that move.
It's so great, but then what they were able to do that is that's how they enabled the third invade with Huni and Reignover to actually go and shove him out of the jungle, and they can figure out the pathing. But even after that, Meteos gets the first blood.
I was going to say, if anything, this just speaks to Meteos' ability as a jungler for him.
And you get the
with
first
all
blood.
of that, you're still finding a way to affect the map, so good on him. A slight nod to him, even in the loss. Now, I do want to jump to our only other replay, which comes only 4 minutes later into the game here, but this is the fight that turned the game on its head by Immortals.
It was just like, you want to punish Immortals for blowing all these ultimates and not getting anything. You want to start this chase down, and they get onto Reignover pretty well. But the problem is this Talia ult is so good. Just totally separates the damage dealers of Impact and Sneaky from getting into the fight. The Rumble ult layered on top is excellent as well. And then it's just like an easy chase down for Immortals, and they're able to pick up a number of kills. Great proto belt from Huni as well, getting into the middle of the C9 lineup and just burning all of them.
And I have to commend them with the decision after this to say, we want to fight in like 20-something minutes in the bot lane. Let's do Baron. The death spawns are like 10 seconds. By the time they got to Baron, pretty much all of C9's already spawned and going to the Baron.
Exactly.
The fact that they recognize we have the damage, we can do this. Granted, C9 did misplay the Baron a little bit, but the fact that they're able to seize that opportunity and go for such an aggressive call and pull it off, I mean, that takes balls, and I think they're able to do it really well.
Definitely takes balls. Also a little bit of I think C9 could have played it a little bit better. We saw that Impact tried to set up barrels over the wall, but he got them like killed in the pit because he wasn't chaining them quickly enough. When he could have just maybe met up with Jensen in the river and they tried to be on the same side. It seemed a little uncoordinated.
Well, a healthy eating Cloud9 here, discussing what they'll do for game 2. This is going to be an interesting game for them to bounce back from, only because of the way it went. Having the later game composition, winning early, and then losing out as you get to the late game is definitely a tough loss to stomach. I do have faith with the guys on these rosters who have been in these positions many times over that they'll be able to shrug it off, move into game 2, no problem. But I do want to talk about that game 2. Cloud9 has opted onto the blue side here, so we will be swapping sides in Champions Select. Adjustments that you would like to see made out of this squad.
I think the adaptation I want to see out of them is I want to see the Gnar out of Impact. We saw it in the series against Envy, able to dominate laning phase and practically carry on his own. And more importantly, he was able to dodge a lot of pressure by himself. He's able to actually sustain a lot of ganks and still be useful for his team. Whereas if you put him on the gangplank, he doesn't really do a whole lot besides ulting for wave clear. You're going to have to wait for 35, 40 minutes for him to actually impact the map. And I didn't really like him on that in the combination with the LeBlanc aspect. So blue side should help them to have more versatile mid lane picks and stronger top matchups.
Okay. LeBlanc is definitely a thing I'd look at. It's obviously a great snowball-y champion, but it's not the easiest to team fight with. And I think you're going to see, it's great against Immortals in theory because there's so much skirmishing and all that, but I think you need a little bit more stability in the mid lane, and there are a number of picks that Jensen can go for.
I mean, I'd want to see him on the Talia. I have a feeling that Immortals isn't going to let him have that the way that they got it. I guess then I would probably love to see him fall back to that Syndra. That was such an important pick for them in that Envy series. Lets him control the lane, have as much kill pressure as, say, Pobelter is pushing him in. We'll see what adjustments they decide to make. It is time now to take a quick break, so stick around. The North American LCS Semifinal returns shortly.
Wait, is Bunny here? No, I don't see him yet.
I hope
so.
so.
Right, Bunny there. Is he?
He's in the T-Rex suit.
The flash chase, Adrian Huni pick up 1 kill. Cocoon lands on Meteos. That's going to be a dead Rek'Sai. Jensen's going to be next on the plate. It's a barbecue here.
Kill him. Rumble.
Nice. Jen's really low.
I can't hit him.
Flash in. Okay, nice.
We're alive. Damage dealt for auto attack there. The dive back in. Smoothie gonna run down. Meteo's gonna be next up. It's a 5v2. Jensen gonna be attacked in the semifinals. Immortals take game 1 over Cloud9.